After the final two majors of the 2025 season, the chances you'll see this Hall of Famer on the PBA National Tour might be getting less and less. But you know he'll be paying close attention to what happens even if he's not on the lanes. Hey everyone, back here at Sussex Bowl, Sussex, Wisconsin, the site of the Pro-Am for the PBA's All-Star Weekend. And when it comes to All-Stars, they don't get much bigger than Chris Barnes.
Well, there's a few in the building that might disagree right now, but
I'm going with that.
I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, the star not only on the lanes but also on the internets. Tell me about how you see the sport differently or even similarly because of Beef and Barnesy.
Well, you get more in touch with the social media aspect of it for sure, and from the Beef and Barnesy standpoint, it's largely positive, and it's about people who love bowling and just want to get more knowledge, more information, more stories, whatever we might be offering that day. And it's certainly the more positive part, and maybe the best parts of social media for us is we get to connect with people who are truly engaged, love the sport, and just want to know or learn more, and maybe we can provide a few things that help somebody get a little better.
Yeah, I think you provide more than a few, at least speaking as one of the loyal viewers. What about Stu? What do you see in him through this that maybe wasn't apparent before you started Beef and Barnesy?
Well, certainly you knew Stu was opinionated, and he had a lot of them, but what came to light over now hundreds of episodes and different things is how well thought some of those opinions really are. And he, like a lot of professionals, he's pretty sure that he's right, as am I. And I think maybe that's what makes it interesting is neither one of us think we're wrong, but we don't agree with each other all the time. So, but, one of the things, I think how gracious he is and how good a friend he's been to both myself and our family through all these things. And, you don't have to agree with his opinion, and he's fine listening to what you have to say. And occasionally, we've changed each other's minds. But I think that's probably the most underestimated part is how gracious and how good a person he is.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up family because your son's out there bowling in a national event Pro-Am. Your wife, who I interviewed at the Masters, said, I guess I'll bowl the Golden Ladies.
Yeah.
She won the whole darn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it like to be Chris Barnes with this crazy domination by the whole family?
Well, you move down in the pecking order a lot, and sometimes it happens in a hurry. I'm awfully lucky. I got twin boys. They, after not really bowling a lot, now they both bowl quite a bit. Ryan on tour, Troy bowls quite a bit now, on a league and recreational level, and is starting to have fun and starting to really get better at it. And then I have a Hall of Fame wife who, in her spare time picks up a ball and, just wins things.
Yeah.
And she's by far the easiest one of us to like anyway. So, when she wins, it just makes it that much easier.
Yeah, for sure. What's the tour season been like this year for you?
Mixed. From a performance standpoint, not great. A few more checks than last year from that standpoint, but nothing really of significance. Just checks and no real runs at shows. We got a little bit close to the doubles where we were peaking at the show for a little bit and then ran into a bad pair, and we didn't really recover. And so the doubles was the highlight for sure. I made the round of 16 at one of the pattern championships out in Reno for the World Series. But the biggest highlights for me are basically just being able to travel with Ryan, enjoying that kind of last year, so to speak, and watching him start blooming into what he's going to become. And, I think he's going to be a top player.
Yeah. When we get to Foxview in Waukesha, I'm going to hunt down Tom. I'm going to ask him the TV question because the season seems jammed into the first part of the year. There hasn't been news of a new TV deal, and that'll come from him. But can you give us a sense of maybe the importance of having a TV deal as far as the players are concerned?
Oh, well, having a TV deal is utmost importance from all standpoints. And being on a major channel is a huge deal. it brings in sponsors, it brings in endorsements from our end, it makes those endorsements more lucrative for us when we do have them. Exposure is what the tour needs to grow and to become become what we want it to be. And so I think the TV deal is imperative, and a big TV deal, and a partner like Fox has been really great for us. There's hope that might still go forward. I don't know at this point. I don't have any news to really know one way or the other, but we're still hopeful, and Jesus take the wheel. I don't know, but let's hope something comes in here big.
Sure. Speaking of Fox, you have a somewhat unique perspective as you've got to provide color commentary through the year. Do you like doing it?
I love doing color commentary. I'd like to do that on a more regular basis. And, whether it's I really do enjoy working with Randy, because Randy's such a big personality, and so and my expertise is on the technical end of things, and maybe explaining some of those nuances that are a little bit different. And I think we're a complement, and I think as a third guy in the booth, it'd be great if you happen to move over to play-by-play. I'd love to take in the color side of it, on a weekly basis, and have a chance to watch Ryan and these other young players grow up through this, and be able to share the experience as best I can with people at home and understand what's going on.
When you see him in that television, environment, you've had the pleasure of seeing him at the highest of highs, right?
Yeah.
Making that run, almost running the ladder last year.
Yeah.
You've also seen him struggle bowling 130 this year.
He's got a little bit of all of it in a very short period of time. His very first show, he's got the front 8, and then leaves a 10 pin with a chance to shoot 300. You're like, holy cow! I really thought it started to look like, for real, he's going to shoot 300 his first game on TV ever, And then how quickly they forget, because the next time he and Dom both struggled on TV on the next pair, and then Dom was just the more experienced player and made the right moves faster and shot 190. And basically with Rasmus, it was a lot of the same thing. It turned out that left lane was very tricky for a lot of the players, and just didn't have a lot of information yet. And so made a choice to move away, and it turned out everything, every move he made seemed to turn into a split, and he couldn't get away from it. Rasmus hung around, and Ryan threw more strikes in the game. The problem was he had 4 more splits in the game, and so that it's all part of the experience. It's part of growing, and each time you learn something a little more, and you want to apply it the next time. And there are rules, so to speak, that will help you be successful in those situations. Some of them just have to be learned on their own. But he's gotten a couple of them in a hurry, and he's not shying away from them. It's not like he's not watching the shows, and I did a little bit of that when it didn't go well. I didn't really want to watch them again, and so therefore I repeated some of the same mistakes. And my job is twofold: is one, to help him shortcut some of those things and some of the things you have learned, because there's 2 things. One, either when you struggle a lot like that, you either have nothing to add or to be learned from, or you've made so many mistakes that you can help somebody avoid a bunch of them. And I'd like to think I'm more in that second category. And the only way to not have any struggles on TV is basically don't make it very often. But having the highs and that many highs and lows already, he's got a lot of room for a lot of really good middle.
Yeah.
Now, and I think that's coming. He's just got to get back to the shows again, and that's not easy to do out here.
Sure. How much longer do you keep competing with the kids on the kids tour?
I think this is probably my last couple tournaments, to be honest, on a full-time basis. So, as much as I love being out here with Ryan, I'd like to find a different way to maybe be out here and help out a little bit. Although he doesn't need that much of it anymore. From game to game, block to block, he's seeing it pretty clear. There's still sometimes some things he doesn't recognize, or doesn't fit his eye, and that's where I can step in occasionally. But really, the amount of those days are getting smaller and smaller all the time, and even games. So, I want to watch and be a fan at sometimes too.
Yeah. Through this show, I've gotten to be a fan of Coach V. I had the pleasure of having him on. I've gotten to talk with him a couple times. there are very few coaches that do this for me, but when I talk to him, I feel like I'm ready to shoe up and bowl for him.
Yeah.
Are through the course of your career, what are some of the big things that maybe Coach V instilled in you that you were able to apply on tour?
Well, he has an outlook that's unique for one, and he, obviously focused on team building and mental preparation and some of those things. But really, on a more personal level, he took a chance on me when it was not a popular thing to do. My sophomore year, I'd been on the C team my first year. My second year, and we had a straight qualifying process for 120 games. At the end of that, I was fifth, but Lonnie Wallachek was the Chuck Hall Star tomorrow. His dad, Paul Wallachek, was the original founder of the Wichita State bowling team and bowled with Gordon on the Chilton vending teams, which were back-to-back defending all events champions. Billy Murphy's Lonnie's cousin, and they'd all bowled junior leagues and all that together. And I had a temper. I was kind of the outsider from the jump, and I was not a popular pick. And over those 120 games, I was less than 100 pins ahead of him for total. So, 0.8 pins a game. You can make an argument that fit-wise, Lonnie was a much better fit with the team than I would have been. Gordon did pick me anyway, and a few months later, I made the Shoot for the Stars thing and got that first TV show experience. Turned into an All-American my sophomore year, and it catapulted me. It's hard to fathom how much confidence it gave me for someone else to believe in me. And kind of as an outsider to that inner circle group that was there, that was enormous for me. And I don't even know why to this day why he chose. If I look back at it, it makes perfect sense to pick Lonnie. He was the guy. Everybody knew he was the guy. Now, as it turned out at semester, we had a couple guys not make grades. He was on that team anyway by the second semester, but the benefit it gave me versus Lonnie was, I can't really even put it in words. I don't know. I probably likely would have never made the team. Maybe my senior year, wouldn't have become any kind of big-time player for sure at the amateur level or pro level. And there are small moments in life where things can really veer off in different directions. And he changed my life and saw something in me that probably I didn't even see in me at the time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, V, for that, because we get to see a Hall of Fame career and all the
or
stuff.
Blame him. I don't know. It's up to eye of the beholder.
All the stuff that goes with it. If people aren't familiar with Beef and Barnsey, when can we see it?
Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central is our normal show time, and obviously as the tour winds down, that'll become a way more regular slot again. It gets hard right now because we have so many squads that are on top of that. We were able to have a couple of shows this week. The senior tour starts up, and so it'll be hit and miss for me, but Stu will be on there all the time he can. And then once that, then the winter months on the backside from August through till tour starts back up again. We don't miss too many shows. So again, Tuesday and Thursdays, 10, 11 Eastern. And we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. So
I love to hear it. Plenty of them do too. Chris Barnes, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for watching. Stick around on this playlist for plenty more coverage from All-Star Weekend.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Fev. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Fev is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply inside Wagner's Lane. So Eau Claire, Wisconsin area's leader in bowling products and services since 1988. And Visionary Video Hub. Video with impact.
Email bowlingwiththefev@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.